Around the year 1800, Alessandro Volta invented the first functioning battery, the Volta column. The problem, it was not rechargeable. What was then developed, 60 years later, the so-called accumulator, was then a revolution and is now a renaissance. Volta's good old electrochemical energy storage is now coveted as never before and makes some companies also attractive for investors. Today we present our Zeitgeist battery. It's been one of our portfolio building blocks since October 2016 and it remains very attractive. Electric cars conquer our roads and demand greater range. The electricity from renewable source demands more storage capacity, so it is not wasted. Ever more powerful and smaller batteries are in demand. One special commodity could become the bottleneck.
This lake is a veritable gold mine for battery manufacturers. It's here that the largest lithium deposits in the world are to be found. The Salar de Atacama in northern Chile is said to contain around 27% of the world's lithium reserves. It's the raw material for the lithium-ion batteries used in computers, mobile phones, and electric cars. A look at the evolution of the lithium price speaks volumes. In 2014, a kilo of lithium cost $7. Meanwhile, the price has soared to $24. And that's why manufacturers try to secure supposedly bargain prices from the mines.
No wonder. A company from our Zeitgeist, BYD from China, manufacturer of electric cars and partly owned by Warren Buffett, was recently sighted in Chile aiming to secure its lithium supplies. Giles Keating, president of the Werthstein Institute in London, who is currently in the lead in the battle for battery capacity.
Well, I think it's neck and neck. China is on track to produce 120 gigawatt hours a year of capacity, but that's not till 2021. Meanwhile, Elon Musk with Tesla is on track to produce 35 gigawatt hours a year, but he's going to get there by 2018.
Thanks, Giles. And staying with Tesla and the topic of electric cars, you have a feeling that the subject may have a rather bumpy ride, Valerie Preniol, Werthstein Institute Fellow in Paris?
Yes, well, in spite of impressive growth, last year only 500,000 electric cars were produced. That compares with 70 million production capacity of cars all over the world. So Tesla in that world produced only 80,000 cars last year.
But let's have a look into the future.
Well, it's still an area where you need a lot of subsidy. That's the case, for example, in Norway, which hundreds of thousands of dollars are being diverted into subsidies to produce and allow people to have an electric car that actually produce a lot of traffic jams in Oslo. This requires still a lot of infrastructure. We still need to see batteries becoming more autonomous for a longer time. So I think it is not a mature market. It will take time to be implemented. I'm still on the sideline.
Robert Rothmann, Werthstein Institute Honorary Fellow in Zurich. You are a bit more optimistic than Valerie regarding e-mobility, right?
Absolutely. I think the rise in electric mobility is one of the defining moments of our time. And I think most estimates for the growth rates going forward could actually be too conservative. One of the key drivers of this is the falling costs of battery storage capacity. So we've already seen a 70% drop since 2010 in the costs for battery. And these falling costs could actually continue going forward.
And let's go to London. Bob Parker, chair of ICMA Asset Management and Investors Council. Is now exactly the right time to invest in the Zeitgeist batteries?
I think a word of caution. My friends in the auto industry tell me that the move towards electric cars is actually happening much faster than any of us forecast a few years ago. So I think the outlook for electric cars, very positive. That means increased demand for batteries. Also outside the auto sector, increased demand for energy storage. So all of that is very positive. But I do think over the coming years, we are going to see increased competition and increased investment in this sector. So I don't see supply shortages. What I do like, however, are the materials that go into making batteries. So rather than buying battery companies, I would actually look more at the commodity sector and the rather obscure materials that go into making batteries.
And we stay in London and going back again to Giles Keating. Batteries are not only interesting for mobile phones and electric cars, is that right?
That's right. I mean, look, batteries solve the problem of renewables, which don't always produce energy when you want them. And what's more, batteries deal with the peak load problem, the fact that we need a lot more power at some times of day than the others.
By the way, batteries remember me on the 4th birthday of my son. He got an electric car, and what was not included, of course, the batteries. And that's always the case in our household. There's always more demand for batteries than offer. And this is how you have to imagine the situation today. And in this, it is attractive to invest in the companies that meet this demand, and so into the Werthstein Zeitgeist batteries.